welcome to a video all about end of the year traditions. Hello, my name is Melody Munch and I am a second grade teacher in Oklahoma, and welcome to a video all about end of the year traditions. Today I'm going to share my top 7, but there's kind of a bonus tradition, so 8-ish traditions that I love to do with my class, and they're things that I've done repeatedly, or one of them something that's kind of newer for me to try, but that I really love and would plan to do every year I taught in the future, so I'm going to include that one as well. I'm also going to be making a totally separate video just about the last day of school because I'm a really sentimental person and I love all of the end of the year things. So the last day I try to make really special and memorable, and I just love the different things we do on that day. I'll share all of these and hopefully some of them will inspire you to add them into your end of the year tradition list. Starting off strong, I have to mention the end of the year with a bang countdown. This is going to be kind of our bonus tip, so this is kind of like number 0, I guess we could say. I have a whole separate video all about how I set this up. It's something we do every single day leading up to the last day of school, and it includes something small that we're going to do as a class each day to celebrate being the last days together. Sometimes it's something really small like a Jolly Rancher, or sometimes it's something more exciting like Glow Day, which there'll be a whole separate video about that too. If you want to know more about that, you can definitely check out my past video that I made all about how I set everything up. It's just a really fun way to count down to the end of the year and get students excited to see what special thing we'll do together every single day. My first official thing that I'm going to say as our first end of the year tradition is doing a memory book. I love doing a memory book with my students every single year because it's a great way to give them something to do whenever you're like running out of your curriculum during the last weeks, but also is really meaningful. So this is going to be kind of what we do for our writing time the last few weeks of school, or if we have just little random pockets of time, students can work on this, or if they're done with other things early. So it really serves a lot of purposes. I love that it has an autograph page. That's something we typically do one of the last days of school. We all put this out and we pass them around so that by the time you switch through all of them, you get yours back full of the autographs. And I just love that they get to walk out with this, especially for students who might not purchase a yearbook. It's just a keepsake they could put in their second grade folder for themselves, and is a good way to look back on kind of how they felt during the year and some things that stood out to them. I also keep a list of things we did this year. I need to pull up that document. And I gave them a bunch of ideas because I think there are some pages about like favorite things that we did, top 5 moments. And so whenever we're like trying to think of those, we talk about a bunch of different things they could put, and it's always really interesting to me to see which 5 they choose. Next up for number 2, let's talk about the end of the year dress, or you could also do shoes or a hat, or really anything that you think you would use. I love the end of the year dress idea. This was definitely not my original idea. I've seen it for years, and a lot of teachers would buy a white dress and let their students totally color it with fabric markers, which my teammate let me borrow the fabric markers right here, and they worked great. You might want to put some cardboard or something underneath your dress so that it is going to not bleed through like mine did. But the point is just that students would color on it, and then you would wear it on the last day with their custom designs, which is a really cute idea. We actually on my team did this during the first week of school, which I super loved, but it kind of comes back in at the end of the year, and I know some teachers only do this at the end of the year. And I will link my dress and the markers that we use in case you are interested. It looks really cute on. And this is something that we decided to do at the beginning, that way we could wear it throughout the year. And I loved that because the reason I never participated in the tradition before is I didn't love the idea of only wearing the dress one day. and then like never wearing it again. So another way to remedy that would be to have your next class add on to the same dress instead of buying a new one. It's really up to you. I know some teachers think it's really sweet to just save that dress as a memory of those students, and I did put their names by each of their little hearts just to kind of remember them. So you could do it however you think is best. This is just how we did it, but I love incorporating that as an end of the year tradition to kind of celebrate and recognize each student in your class by giving yourself a little keepsake that they helped create. This next end of the year tradition ties back to the first day of school as well, and that is reading The Last Day Blues book by Julie Dannenberg. This is such a sweet book. I just realized I've probably been saying her name wrong forever. It's Julie Danberg. I've been saying Dannenberg. So Last Day Blues is such a sweet book, and it's about the same teacher. At the beginning of the year, I always read First Day Jitters on the first day, and it tells the story of it looks like a student who's getting ready for school and they're really nervous, and it reveals at the end of the book that it was actually the teacher that was really nervous to enter the classroom. So the students are always surprised. Like, it takes them a second to realize that the book was actually kind of like playing a little trick on them, because the whole time you never see this student's face as they're getting ready and they're running behind. You always see other people, or there's like something covering her face, so you think it's a student, and then kind of the point of the book is just that like everyone can feel jittery or nervous around the first day of school, and you're not alone if that's how you feel too. And then you find out it's the teacher. And there's all kinds of books about different things that happened during her year with her students, and we even read another one of them in writing, because we do a letter writing unit and we tie this book in. I love circling back to Last Day Blues on the last day of school. It's a really sweet story to just kind of help everyone reminisce. You could also read it earlier. I love reading this book to kind of bookend our school year with the two of these. Next, let's talk about the class auction. I love doing this end of the year tradition, and it can be totally up to you how much you spend on it. You could spend absolutely zero, which I've done many a times, and I've just had students auction off with things that I want to get rid of in the classroom. So it's a great decluttering strategy, especially if your building's anything like mine have been, where teachers get rid of things throughout the year and you kind of collect different things and then you may not end up using all of them. I definitely have like a drawer of things that are just like prizes, and I don't use prizes during my regular school year. So the class auction is where everything comes out. Sometimes I have purchased items from the Dollar Tree or dollar store to beef up my supply. And we started adding mystery bags, which are great. There's little bags with like 3 or 4 random items in it, so students bid on them not knowing what's going to be inside, but they know there'll be a few things, and hopefully they're things that they like. The students would have class money, so you could already have a class money system going that you tie in with this, or if you don't normally use class money, maybe each student is just given $10 to spend at the auction. And you could even invite other families to donate things that their child does not use anymore at home to be part of the auction if you want to beef up your supply without having to spend a dime. The students all have their money. I raise up an item and say, okay, I'm gonna sell this fake plant. This fake plant is $5 class dollars. Who would be willing to pay $5 class dollars? They would all raise their hand if they'd be willing to pay that much. And then I'd say, okay, who would be willing to pay $6? Whoever has the highest amount gets that item. So in all, the auction's just great because it helps you declutter and it helps your students just have something fun to do towards the end of the year, especially if you use class money. It's a great way for them to get rid of their class money. Like I always tell them, this is the last day you can buy anything, so just use all your money. That is a really fun way to kind of close out our classroom economy and help me get rid of some stuff and give it to students who would love it. Our 5th end of year tradition that I would recommend is doing some classroom letters. Now, I have so many letters because I think I'm just so sentimental that I just love having students write different letters to end the year. So I'm going to share 3 different letter writing activities you could do with your students. The first letter that I have my students do is during our letter writing unit, and they write to their next grade teacher, which I teach 2nd grade, so is their 3rd grade teacher. I love doing this because I actually give this to their 3rd grade teacher once I know who that person is. And I just think it's a great way for that 3rd grade teacher to get an early snapshot of who that student is. And we get these little class pictures if they were there on picture day, and I stick one of those in the corner with it as well. And it's just a great way for the students to make an introduction to their third grade teacher before even physically meeting them. Another letter that's for the next school year is a letter to my future class. This is so sweet. I put these out on Meet the Teacher night. So definitely something you need to do if you are a first year teacher so that you can use them in the next year. So my current class is writing a letter to my next class, and they're just telling them some fun things we're gonna get to do in second grade, or some things to know about me. Some students have included like, here are ways to make Miss Munch smile, which is always really sweet. And they just turn out adorable. So like last year, several students were writing about how fun our Starbucks days were. And my students from this year remember reading about that on the Meet the Teacher night. So when we did Starbucks Day this year, they were like, I've been looking forward to this since Meet the Teacher. I couldn't believe they still remember. They were like, it just caught their attention. So I love having them name just a few things to look forward to, and then I display them on a wall at Meet the Teacher night, and the families can go pick one to read. The next one is a letter that I write to the class, and we call it I Wish My Students Knew. This is not my original idea. There is a little book or post that was written called I Wish My Teacher Knew, and I keep those little slips in my classroom all year. They're just little slips the students can write me at any time and put in my little mailbox. And they just are a way for them to communicate something they might not feel comfortable coming up and telling me. And sometimes we do these whole class. That way every student is writing down something they want me to know. Sometimes it's something silly or something interesting, like I do gymnastics, and sometimes it's something a little heavier that they might not feel comfortable bringing up around others, like my dad is in jail right now, or I haven't seen my mom in 3 years, like things like that are just really heartbreaking, that would be tough for them to talk about, but they want me to know that about them, and they just may not have had an opportunity to say so prior to. So it's a really, really sweet activity that I keep in my room all year. So to kind of tie that back in, I write them an I Wish My Students Knew letter, but it's nothing to do with me. It's just things that I feel about them to make them know how loved they are. I choose to read this in front of the class, which is a huge tearjerker. So beware. Sometimes I know teachers just like pass this out and say like, okay, you guys are gonna have to read it, because they're just like, no way, I don't want to read it in front of them. I'd just be crying the whole time. I definitely cried, but I was able to get through it with a few deep breaths, and I think it's actually really sweet to like kind of let the students in on how much I really do love them, and I think they're all kind of moved by the emotion, even though it's kind of embarrassing. I love reading this out loud to them, and then they each get a copy to take home. And after we do that activity, they have the opportunity to write me and I wish my teacher knew, or I wish the class knew. And then I read the teacher ones to myself, and the class can read the ones they wrote to the class all together. This one that I just read today, it says, I love you, please do not tell, but you are my favorite teacher. It's so sweet. So I saved some of these forever because they are just really, really sweet to hold on to, and just, again, make you really feel how impactful you can be on a student's life. So those are just a few of the letter templates. As you can see, I'm a sucker for a good letter, and I'm definitely a words of affirmation girl, so I think that's why I just love those so much. Idea number 6 is our Yes Day. Yes Day is I believe, a Netflix movie that I've actually never seen, but there is this cute little book that I believe is inspired by the movie. I don't think it's exactly the same characters, at least is my understanding, but it is about a boy who gets to have a yes day with his family, which basically means that whenever he asks for something, they try and say yes as much as possible. So like, he asked for pizza for breakfast. He asked to wear some hair gel. He asked if he could skip clean his room and clean it the next day. So it's just really sweet things. And we read this first and we talk about how everything that he asks for is something that is feasible. So he doesn't ask, can they go to Disneyland? He doesn't ask, can we go to the moon? Like, he's asking for things that are either free or inexpensive, and they're things that his family is able to have him do. That is the key to our Yes Day as well, is that they are going to get to submit requests. I have them do this the day prior to our Yes Day, and they get to submit requests for things they'd like to do while we're in class. And so I always tell them, you know, can I buy everyone a McDonald's Happy Meal? No, that would be too expensive. But could I let you bring a stuffed animal? Yes. So that's another reason I like to have them submit the request the day before, so that I have time to look through them. And then if they are allowed to bring something, I can let them know, and I can email families the day before. There is an amazing product from Sweet Firsty Fun that has all the Yes Day things you would ever need. So I will make sure to link that below. It has this little Yes Day sign that I put in our bucket where they submit their requests. And then they have blank requests where they can write in. She also has pre-made ones. There are Yes Day crowns that they can make. Here are some of her pre-made ideas. Can we have candy? Can we watch a movie? Can we play a game? Can we use Play-Doh? Can we do a Kahoot or Book It? My kids would love either of those. Can we watch a show while we have lunch? Can we have extra recess? Last class asked for lunch outside, so we did that. They asked if they could bring a beach towel to lay on, and so they got to do that. All in all, that is a really fun tradition to do, and the kids just eat it up. We are now at number 7. So our last end of the year tradition, I can't go without, is end of the year awards. It's just so wholesome and makes everyone feel so cared for and loved. I get some red butcher paper and I roll that down the middle of our classroom floor, and then I set up a little podium with a little table, and I use my microphone, and we put some award show music on, and we have our slideshow, and I announce all the different awards. About a week before the awards ceremony, I let the class vote on who they think should get each of the class awards. We just use a simple Google form for this. This is the template before I set it up. I have about 20 of the awards selected that I want their input on, and I make a drop-down menu that has everyone in the class's names, so they can just click the menu and select it, and they don't have to type anything out. I also provide a visual for them of every classmate with their name underneath it, so they know who they're picking. So this is the template I'm using for my awards, and I will link this for you below. It is going to autofill. I can just put in the students who are earning those awards up here, and it's going to autofill their name on the correct award, and it also will have my name and the date autofilled on every page, so I don't have to type that in a bunch of times. I also, in this template, have 2 pages for each award, so you could pick 2 winners. That's something I often do, especially when there's 2 students that are just both very, very deserving of that award, or sometimes I'll do like a 1 boy and 1 girl type of thing. I've been picking all the Gilmore Girls characters just for fun. So let's say Rory Gilmore, oh boy, is going to win Remarkable Reader because she loves to read, so that does make sense. Then we'll go to page 13, and voila, it's all filled out. And these little blue boxes won't be there when we print it. So now let me show you what a printed one looks like. So here is Rory's Remarkable Reader Award. Turns out so cute. I also printed out some for other Gilmore Girl characters, like Miss Emily Gilmore being the most organized. And we've got Dean being a loyal listener. I put Richard as a future teacher because he does become a professor. We've got Lorelai as the most friendly, and just to show you, I also have a font that is print so that you could use either of those. We've got Paris as the natural leader. Jess is famous in the future. I believe he writes a book. This is just a sample of the awards. There are over 60 pre-made templates and an editable template provided, which I will link in the description. I hope you enjoyed this look at some end of the year traditions I love, and that some of them were helpful to you to introduce with your class. I will leave all the links I mentioned in the description below. Let me know if you have any questions or if I missed anything, and I will definitely get back to you. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!